Is computer. Okay.
A very good day, I bid to all of you. We are gathered here to talk on an interesting topic that is bilingualism and second language teaching. Before further ado, let me introduce our guests of today's forum, starting with Mr. Sobri, Madam Catherine, Madam Yong, and Miss Genevieve. They are invited today because they are the experts to discuss on this hot issue pertaining on the stakeholders linked to it. But first, do you guys know what bilingualism is? It is the ability of speaking and understanding two languages. Do you realize that we are bilinguists? This is because in Malaysia, Malay language is our first language, and we even make English language as our second language. However, in terms of education, it is an on-off program. Back in 2003, PPM was introduced and stopped in 2012. Nevertheless, the Sarawak government has introduced Dual Language Program or DLP, and this year is a compulsory for all Year 1 and Form 1 pupils. Have you ever wondered what makes bilingualism crucial in Malaysia education system? It is because of a new policy made by the Ministry of Education as to support the MBM MBI program. To get a clearer view of this policy, let us invite Mr. Sobri to share his thoughts, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hizan. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to this forum. So I'm here in the capacity of representing the Ministry of Education Malaysia, talking on the topic of bilingualism, teaching in Malaysian context. So Malaysia is a multiracial country. Malaysia regards English as the second language, looking at the importance of the language in the global community. Yes. So our aim is to produce citizens who can speak more than one language. That's our policy. So in this context, the language that we prefer is the English language, without neglecting the importance of the first language or Bahasa Melayu as our national language, our identity, the language that define who we are. So in order for our country to be competitive in the global community, there is a need to master another language, a language that is widely used for international trading, for national development or civilization in terms of facilities and technology, since Malaysia aims to become a high income nation in the near future. So for your information, our country's HDI or Human Development Index has increased significantly, where from 1990 to 2018, our HDI has increased from 0.644 to 0.804, an increase of 24.9%. So the highest country in HDI currently is Norway with 0.954, and Malaysia is actually at number 61 in the world ranking out of 189 countries. So why HDI? HDI gives an overall index of economic development. It gives a rough ability to make comparison on issues of economic welfare. So much more than just the GDP statistics. So under HDI, being knowledgeable is one of the key dimensions of human development. So looking at this scenario, knowledge is the key to the national development. In order for our citizens to acquire the knowledge, they should be competent in the language of knowledge. So nowadays, the language of knowledge is English. Since English is an international language, the lingua franca, some would say, mastering English language would benefit not only our country, but also the citizen who lives within the system without neglecting the importance of our first language, which is Bahasa Melayu. So that's why our country came up with the implementation of PPSMI, but then stopped, as you mentioned earlier as mentioned earlier by our moderator. Not to mention also it created an issue back then. Now we have the dual language program, or the DLP, in schools, pioneered by the schools in Sarawak under the autonomy of the Sarawak government. And now other schools also started the program. So basically, this is why we impose the policy looking at the importance of preparing our citizens so it could contribute to our human capital for our country, Malaysia. Uh, that's my response for that.
Okay. What do you think, Madam Yong?
Thank you, Mr. Hifzan. Okay, I'm here to give my point of view as a teacher. So English plays an important role as a second language in many countries. A very good command in English is seen as the most important element in getting place in higher education and good job. It is supported from the study done by Tuahishat in 2010. Okay, so students needs to have a minimum requirement of wet pantry to enter university in Malaysia. And then the global markets are becoming increasingly more integrated, which also increases the need to have bilinguals who are able to conduct business and work in global markets. So research has already suggested that companies are less likely to lay off a bilingual employee, and new research has shown that the demand for bilinguals in the workforce is rising. Besides, science and mathematics are also very crucial towards moving in this globalization era, as the world is moving towards the world of information and technology. Hence, it is crucial to acquire the English because English is considered as the international language and the language of knowledge. Therefore, the implementation of bilingual education is in line with the development in this world, and all the changes happen in the curriculum policy is determined by the needs, self, society, and knowledge. Okay. Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay. What do you think as a parent, Madam Catherine?
Well, as a parent, I do support the policy implemented by the Ministry of Education. What I can do is follow up my child's progress in his study with the teachers at school. So I also believe that by doing this, I can monitor his progress. I also supervise his homework at home and give praises to him whenever he did a good job. So this is just to encourage him and build his confidence. Besides that, I also set a rule to speak only one language at home. On certain days, like for example, we speak English for the whole day, and I think that this helps my child to improve in his speaking skills as well. Other than that, we as parents also support our child by buying English books for him to read and also encourage him to listen to radio and TV stations that uses English as a medium of communication. So I do believe that they can learn in a fun way too, like watching movies and so on.
Um, okay, so I'm the representative for the student. Okay. Bilingual education can strengthen the executive function of the brain. In fact, there is a research by Verica Marian and Anthony Shook in 2012 shows that bilingual students are able to use the language at the same times. So they're switching the language consistently, and it develops their skill for functions such as inhibition, switching attention, and working memory. As such, students who are being educated bilingually often perform better on tasks which require multitasking, decision making, for example, answering the how to comprehend the questions, and then even though they have nothing to do with the language. Besides, bilingual students will find it easier to learn a new language in the future if they want to. Furthermore, it is useful for life after school. Knowing more than a language has many advantages, especially when students leave the secondary school. The educational benefits experienced in school by bilingual children or learners will continue when they pursue higher education, increasing their chances of thriving in the pre-university and undergraduate studies. Bilingual individuals also highly sought after in the workplace, especially by multinational companies with ties to many countries. Thus, it is important for the students to enhance their bilingual proficiency to address the shift of the Malaysia education blueprint. So that is my view on students. Thank you.
Okay, however, although this issue is beneficial for our younger generations, I'm sure that there are tons of challenges grow and resurface. Mind to share your peace of mind?
All right. So challenges. So normally when the policy is introduced, thorough study has been done in understanding the issue and coming up with ways to implement it. Of course, there are many challenges that we face by the ministry for teaching bilingualism in Malaysia. Some of the issues are mostly concerning the human resource of the channel itself, uh, which are the teachers in the context of schools. So in order to produce a bilingual citizen, we need to be able to create a supportive environment for the students to learn. Besides that, we also receive complaints regarding the competency issues among teachers because our teachers are not the product of the current system. They are the product of the previous system. So, in the ministry level, we know how to tackle this problem, and we have ways on how to overcome this matter. Thank you very much.
Okay, what do you think, Madam Yong, since teachers are the ones implementing it?
Okay, so one of the challenges whereby I think is the teachers' readiness, skills, and knowledge. Study shows that teachers' competency and readiness to teach mathematics and science in English was the main factors that affect the value of PPSMI, whereby it is shown in the research by Lim and Chiu in 2007, Hamida Abdul Rahman et al. In 2005. And many teachers agree that they were not fluent and competent in delivering the lesson using English and prefer to use Bahasa Malaysia in the teaching and learning session in the class. Hence, the pupils could not understand the language as well as the content of the lesson, which affect the pupils' performance in the class. So throughout the research finding as well, okay, most of the teachers actually they have not attended the DLP courses. And this is supported by the studies done by Nadia Binti Hasbullah in 2019. So the teachers were only provided with the curriculum standard and later about the implementation of DLP. So they actually doesn't have the readiness to teach in English. So therefore, these teachers are not really very confident and ready to implement the DLP in the class. That's all from me.
Teachers are having to attend some courses first before implementing their daily language, Madam Yong?
Yes, this is because the implementation of DLP is different from the implementation of PPSMI. Teachers are the implementers and they play an important role in making a program success. Other than that, the finding shows that teachers are not equipped with enough resources and facilities as well to implement the teaching mathematics and science in English in the class. So most of the teachers actually they are still using the teaching aids and the materials from the previous PPSMI. Okay, so the ministry and the school did not provide the appropriate resources for the teachers to conduct the lesson in the DLP class. So this is because the content during the PPSMI actually did not suit with the current syllabus of the DLP program. That is just my point of view regarding the problems.
I do agree with Madam Yong. As parents, no doubt that there were challenges that I have to face also due to the implementation of the policy, especially in terms of my competency in the subject. For example, in the science and mathematics subjects, okay, which were taught in English, I found it difficult to understand, especially for the terms which are now taught in English, since during my time it was taught in the Malay language, as mentioned by the minister earlier. So there is a gap over there for me to understand the terms, and it is kind of difficult for me. So my concern is also for parents who are not proficient in English language, as not all parents are able to speak English. They might have difficulties in understanding the language at the first place, then understanding the terms. So I'd like to share an article written by Sonia Nieto on parents' involvement in bilingual education. And the question posted was, whose responsibility is it? So she mentioned that limited English proficient parents are often not able to participate effectively in their children's education. So this is a challenge for parents, okay? So and their children could only rely on teachers at school. However, the biggest challenge for me, of course, is when my child tend to rely back on our first language. Maybe at first it will be difficult, but eventually he will be able to use English comfortably at home. That's my thoughts.
What about you, Miss Genevieve?
Okay, for students, I believe that learning English is full of challenges, especially for those in the rural or remote areas of the countries, where the lack of opportunities to use the language in a relevant manner or lack of interest among the students. The impact of learning through a second language among the students is even more damaging if it is introduced without due consideration of the need to adapt to its usage as language medium. This will further complicate the problem of inadequate grasp of language medium faced by the students. And besides, students' ability to obtain new languages are different. Some students can catch up easily and some are not, especially those are slow learners. If a bilingual education program is broke into a standard 50-50 split during the day, school day, students students who do not struggle with a new language may find themselves focused on the second language only. Hence, those who fail to master the language will not be able to achieve good grades for the examination, as they could not comprehend the questions in their examination. And so that is my view for on the students.
I see this is quite a major problem for all stakeholders to face at the moment. So as this sounds terrible and getting worse in accordance of day and nights, I'm pretty sure that there are some actions taken to overcome them. What do you think, Mr. Sobri?
All right. So when we address all the problems and challenges, of course, we are aware of the challenges and the problems that we are facing. So in the ministry level, what we can do is to allocate more funding for education. The teachers will be sent for trainings to improve their proficiency in English as well as in Bahasa Melayu. There are quite a number of approaches that we can use to implement bilingual education actually. One of them is by implementing content language integrated learning or CLIL in our lesson. So of course, in order to do this, as teachers need to be trained on how to carry out these lessons. That's why we are sending teachers for skill improvement courses in batches, slowly, batches by batches. And besides that, we would also allocate some funding for the teachers to sit for a competency tests, such as MUET, CFR exams, and so on, just to improve on their proficiency as well as their competency in carry out the policy. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Sobri. Madam Yong, care to share your peace of mind, please?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Huzan. Okay. So according to the study done by Garner and Engin Demel in 2012, okay, they imply that the teachers and guidance and proper guidelines of the new curriculum should not be left with nothing but knowledge. Okay, so through the collaboration and cooperation among the mathematics and science teachers, managed to overcome this challenge. So according to Idris in 2006 and On and Tan in 2008, buddy support among the teachers help the teachers to teach confidently. This is based on the study done during the implementation of PPSMI. Besides, the teachers are also ready to go for the DLP course to increase their level of readiness to teach mathematics and science in English, as they will have a better view of what the learning contents are. Moreover, suitable and enough materials and references should be provided to help the stakeholders to achieve the objective of the program. And this is actually proved by the study done by Bujang and Muhammad Hamza in 2016 as well. Okay, thank you. This is
Okay, thank you, Madam Yong. What do you think, Madam Catherine?
Well, I think by sending our children to tuition classes, okay, they would be able to improve in their studies, okay. We also can learn together with our children to encourage them to study at home, okay, and at the same time, it strengthens the bond between parents and child. Parents should also keep in touch with teachers at school, okay, maybe through WhatsApp groups or any other medium of communication to keep updated with the current needs of the child. Okay, by doing this, parents can keep track, okay, of the child's progress. Okay. That's
Okay.
all.
What say you, Miss Genevieve?
Students can improve their bilingual proficiency by having daily conversation in both languages evenly. Instead of just using Bahasa Malaysia in school for the conversation, they can also interact with their friends in English too, because they will feel more motivated if they have someone to talk to by using the language. They should know that it is fine to make mistakes while learning. As a friend, the student should not do something that can demotivate his or her friends, especially for those who is trying to speak or learn the new language. Students also can tell to the teachers or the family's members about their plan on improving their English skills so that they can assist them in any way. For example, sending them to tuition or any programs related to English. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Oh, this is a very good topic to discuss about. Basically, the policies such as the DLP program pioneered by the Sarawak government is strongly supported by teachers, parents, and students. However, There are challenges rose in the implementation of this policy. There are some actions taken in overcoming these problems. Some succeeded and some may not. So it comes back to the implementer themselves to take their actions seriously and wisely. Funds are sure in need as such done during the implementation of PPSMI. Teachers are indeed in need of proper training as they are the ones sharing the content knowledge to the younger generations. ICT support should be kept updated in order to stay on track of this matter. Parents can take few initiatives to show their full support on this development for the sake of their children's brighter future. Before ending this session, I would like to thank these lovely panels for spending their time in sharing their views and ideas on bilingualism and second language teaching. Thank you until next time. See ya. Goodbye.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. You're welcome.